Hi, I'm Becky Davis with City TV, and welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the city's only news magazine show. We bring you up to date on the city's most significant projects, issues, and events. Whether you do it by foot, bike, or car, if you travel through the east side of town, you're going to want to watch our next segment. We'll show you how residents' concerns are being turned into concrete ideas, literally. The East Side neighborhood, spanning from Milpas Street to Salinas Street and Punta Gorda to Canon Perdido, has long awaited traffic safety improvements. Poor lighting, speeding cars, and crosswalk safety are the top priorities for area residents.
The one event that probably got everybody's attention was the unfortunate pedestrian who was killed on Milpas Street at Ortega, Sergio Romero. And we've done some improvements to address pedestrians' safety on Milpas Street, but out of that, the residents wanted more. They wanted us not to just address concerns on Milpas Street, but their entire neighborhood. So they came to our Transportation and Circulation Committee and the City Council and asked the city to do some type of transportation management plan in their neighborhood.
In response to the requests made by residents, City Council met in September of 2012 to discuss the needed traffic improvements.
The East Side has been identified as an area of need for quite some time.
When it came to council about 6 months ago for whether we were if council was going to prioritize this as a work effort, they did feel it was really important, and we as staff are happy to embark on this effort to address pedestrian traffic issues in the East Side neighborhood.
After hearing from many East Side residents at the meeting, Council voted to develop a neighborhood transportation plan specifically for the East Side.
My first immediate reaction was, wow, I can't believe we did it. When City Council made a unanimous decision to make the East Side a priority, so much of our job was convincing people of the community that you can make a difference if you just show up and try and voice your opinion. And to actually see that happen and to actually fulfill that was really, really cool.
I was really happy. I was pleased. I was really, when they said it, I was kind of like, what happened? And then so they had to explain it to me, and I was like, oh yes, we did it, and for that I thank the community because it was a big part of the whole decision.
So the hybrid plan is basically having one component where we go out to the neighborhood to find out directly what's occurring on the streets, what's their observations. Staff is not there on a daily basis, but the East Side residents are, so we look to them to make their neighborhoods more livable. And we are holding 2 workshops. We held one called the East Side Listening Workshop where we could hear all of the concerns, and then we have a second workshop where staff will be looking at potential solutions for those the East Side residents' concerns. Paralleling that effort, we have independent analysis by our traffic engineer, and he will be doing an independent analysis for pretty much the past 10 years of accident collision data, going through all of that, and also canvassing the neighborhood looking for issues that he feels from a traffic engineering standpoint need to be addressed.
The first community workshop was held in the beginning of February at Franklin Elementary School, where city staff sat down with residents to listen to their concerns before developing any improvement plans.
Facilitators from the city, they've broken us up into groups of about 5 or 10, and they break down a series of questions sort of in the areas I had previously mentioned, asking us about where are the areas that cars speed, what are particularly dark or troublesome intersections, where are there missing sidewalks or ramps where you would like the city to fill in. So we're just sort of getting everything out onto maps, and I guess going from there. There are no, wrong answers or negative comments or anything like that. Everybody's been really positive and just, even talking about their sort of pie in the sky dreams for the East Side.
As city employees, we could say, hey, we know there's a problem here or there or whatever. We're not doing that. This is their neighborhood. They live in the neighborhood, so we want them to tell us what their concerns or problems are. Even if it's not something that we can handle from a transportation division standpoint, it might be something that either the police department or community development department may address. So once we hear what their concerns are, then we will develop some solutions, come back to them. Okay, these are some solutions we've developed to address your concerns. What do you think? And then we will have them prioritize any improvements that we might do.
I think we get a perspective from the residents themselves, and it makes us aware of some issues that we didn't know about before, so we can start focusing on them. Now, my job would probably be, if it's brought to my attention, I'll refer it to the traffic division, where they may post motorcycle officers in certain locations we hadn't in the past. So these are great input. This is great input from the community, because now we're aware of other issues that we may focus on.
Around 75 residents showed up to the workshop and contributed their ideas about how to improve traffic safety in their neighborhood.
There's a lot of issues with not enough light, especially around this time where it's 5:30 and it's dark. A lot of us have to pick up our kids from AOK programs, or we take them to karate, we take them to different classes, so we have to walk or take the bus. So there's a lot of places where there's not enough light. And the speeding, especially when I take my kids to Cleveland, there's a lot of speeding because there's commuters coming. They have to get to work. We have to get to school. So both of us together in one, it's not a really good mix. It's really awful. We have to really pay attention that our kids are not running in front of us. They have to be next to us to make sure that they don't cross and get run over.
My sort of main concerns are better lighting, and I think that ties in with a lot of safety issues in the area. I think speeding is a huge problem, especially along the Salinas Street corridor, and just basically making it safe for people to take their kids to get to school, for people to get from point A to point B safely, and also providing accessibility for wheelchair ramps and filling in missing sidewalks, I think would make the sort of pedestrian experience a whole lot better.
Crossing guard Rudy Galindo has seen many of these issues firsthand.
Most of the time they make a stop over the line. They're supposed to make a stop on the other side, and they about that far from me, and sometimes they don't make a stop at all.
City staff is now compiling the workshop input, and with feedback from future workshops, will develop both long-term and short-term plans for the neighborhood.
What we'll probably see, so maybe like a short-term fix would be maybe there's a street light out at a particular intersection that needs immediate attention. A long-term plan would be lighting for an entire corridor or neighborhood for that matter. Other short-term fixes could be improving visibility at an intersection. Maybe there's an overheight hedge. A long-term approach might be that we need to have an engineering solution for that particular intersection. Maybe the stop signs aren't visible for some reason, or that type of thing.
Once the information has been compiled and plans are developed, staff will present their strategies to City Council to determine the next steps for improvement.
In addition to this workshop, I'll also be sending out surveys, and we've formed a really great partnership with the schools. And if you're a parent of elementary school age children, we'll be sending out hard copy surveys to get more feedback about pedestrian traffic related issues. And we also plan to do electronic surveys through the high school and junior high. Once we get all the surveys back as well, we'll be combing through all of the data, and then we'll start to meet with all the appropriate staff to figure out how we can address these issues. And then probably we're gearing up for the first week of April, where we would bounce off a few ideas with the East Side residents to say, okay, this is the particular issue, this is how we think we can address it.
More than anything, I think that there's been a real positive momentum going in the East Side, and I think the city is making funding available, and we're also helping them kind of work through that. So I honestly really feel like things are going to start happening. I mean, things have already happened on Milpa Street, and things are going to start happening on Salinas and with lighting, and and other Safe Routes to School grants. So things are already happening, and I just really hope that more improvements continue to happen.
I'm hoping from the community to see that this is real, this is happening, and not to be afraid anymore and not to be less hopeful. I want them to see that someone is listening, that they are paying attention to us, and I'm hoping that from this workshop they see that people are interested in us.
Stay tuned for the next phase of the plan, which includes a second neighborhood outreach in April. In our next story, we examine the city's waste stream, which spotlights the increasingly popular commercial food scraps program. The program not only saves businesses money, it has some significant side benefits as well. Nagin Amuzagar has the details.
Have you ever stopped to think about what happens to the leftover food on your plate when you go out to eat? Or what about all the carrot tops, potato peels, and other scraps from making those meals? Unfortunately, if it doesn't go to Fido, it most likely goes here, to the landfill. Here in Santa Barbara, the leftover food from many restaurants and grocery stores does not go in the trash. Instead, it embarks on a remarkable journey. The city's food scraps program started in 2007 to save dwindling space at the Tahiguas landfill and reduce the environmental impacts of burying materials we can recycle.
There are a lot of great reasons that we have the food scraps program, but I think the three most important are that businesses find the program easy to participate in and that they save money. And that's probably why we have 150 businesses in the program now. The second reason is that it's wonderful for the environment. We can make it a really high quality compost up in Santa Maria that we actually see back on our city parks here and in our school gardens. And the third reason, it teaches kids in our schools to be stewards of the environment, and they're just wonderful participants in the program as well.
The program has helped keep this resource out of the landfill while also helping businesses see a savings on their trash bill.
Your average business is going to see their bill go down several $100s, sometimes more a month, depending on how big they are. Even a small participant's going to see some kind of savings, and that's probably the reason we have everyone from a small coffee shop up to a large supermarket participating in the program. There's financial savings that, with a good commitment to composting, they can realize very quickly, and it's not hard to do. It just takes a good amount of training, and once their staff get it, they even forget that they're composting. It's just part of how they run their day.
One of the reasons the program is so easy is because so many things are compostable, including dirty cardboard, dairy products, and even chicken bones. After Marburg picks up the contents of the yellow bins, they are consolidated at the county transfer station and are then trucked up to Engel & Gray's compost facility in Santa Maria. Once at Engel & Gray, the remarkable transformation into fertile compost begins.
Initially, when they come in, they're weighed in the trucks, and then we calculate the volume, and we combine it with green waste, which is another product, another feedstock that comes in. And at an appropriate time, we put them in a windrow, as you see back here, and we start the composting process.
The piles then begin to heat up due to the decomposition until they reach a high enough temperature to break down the organic material and kill harmful bacteria and viruses known as pathogens. It is then screened, tested, and prepared for final delivery.
And we screen it to different specifications, so we could be selling it to Caltrans, or we could be selling it to an agricultural operation, a vineyard, somebody growing broccoli, or we could be selling it to landscape supply centers. So if the public wants it, they look up Landscape Supply Center, and they're able to go purchase the compost to either top dress their lawn or amend their soil in their garden.
Businesses like Lucas and Llewellyn Vineyards see benefits on both ends of the food scraps process. They recycle their grape skins and seeds, which Engel & Gray picks up and turns into compost. The vineyard then uses the compost as a soil amendment.
In a vineyard, we're looking to improve nutrition, so compost is a natural way of getting some nutrition for the vineyard. It's also organic matter, which is really good because that helps break down the nutrients in the soil. Also helps us with water retention. So it's a multi-purpose for us, and it just improves your soils, makes things better.
And I brought some of the dirt, and this stuff's just amazing, high-quality stuff. And this is actually compost from England Grace facility in San Maria. This was somebody's leftovers, probably some chicken bones and maybe an orange peel. And now it's just black gold, and we think that's just a great thing to put back on our city parks and use in our schools.
Local Santa Barbara businesses like Brophy Brothers Restaurant and schools like Peabody Charter School also participate in the Food Scraps program.
As a result, we used to, on a typical weekend in Santa Barbara, we'd have 3 full-size dumpsters of trash. We're down to 1, which is pretty remarkable. So the landfills obviously, are better off, but also we don't have that cost.
And landfills are filling up. I think the number is way over 25 years now that there hasn't been a landfill permitted in California. And what we're doing is we're reducing that impact on the landfill. So everything we take here in these organic feedstocks, we keep out of the landfill.
By preserving dwindling landfill space, reducing pollution, and providing valuable organic fertilizer, food scrap composting benefits everyone. And the best part? Business is growing.
Tune in next episode as we trace the journey of the brown trash bin. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
I just had my weekly lecture about spending too much money.
What do you have to say this time?
I couldn't understand most of it. All I could get was pesos don't grow on trees.
There they are, ready to go to dinner. Fred's buying.
I'll be right back. I'm going to get my other wallet. This one has my money in it.
Fred, I have a plan. Do you want to hear it?
Lucy, we're still recuperating from your last plan.
I want to start a recycling program for the apartment building.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Oh, Ricky! Fred will listen to you. Tell him I have a wonderful plan for the building that won't cost him a cent.
Let's see. My scatterbrain wife has another half-witted scheme. If you listen to it, you're out of your mind.
Boy, did that suffer in translation. Fred, it will help the environment and lower the apartment's trash bill, which means money in your pocket.
Lucy, this is one scheme that makes sense. Dollars and cents.
Minutes away. Hours of fun. Explore new worlds. Grab a bite. Have a blast. Catch the fun. Stearns Wharf. Playing near you.
Oh, Periscope. Can't see anything.
Sir, the crew is concerned about the amount of disposable bags we have on board.
I will not hear of such things.
Flood torpedo tubes. Flood torpedo tubes.
Fire torpedo!
Fire torpedo!
Sir, it's a misfire. Disposable bags are jamming the tube.
Captain, we've got to get rid of these bags and start using canvas reusables!
Mister, I will not hear of this talk of treason. All ahead full, right full rudder.
All ahead full, right full rudder! Engineering, what's going on down there?
Sir, we've been sabotaged by disposable bags!
Okay.
Welcome back. Next, we're going to introduce you to an employee who got his start at the city at a very young age, thanks to a popular city program. City TV's Corinne Torin has the story.
Like many recent high school graduates, Marco Felix wanted a summer job that could hopefully become a career. Little did he know that his opportunity would come so soon.
I saw flyers posted and I thought I'd give it a shot since I didn't have a job at the time. And I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with my life and what route to take. So I gave it a try.
What Marco tried was the city's apprenticeship program, which gives local youth hands-on experience in different occupations around the city. These apprentices learn to work as part of a team and develop lifelong skills.
The Job Apprenticeship Program is a program that's aimed at low-income youth in the community, primarily youth ages 16 to 21. And what the program does, it recruits individuals that have minimal skills, minimal experience in work, and no experience in being an environment that's required for them to have a lot of discipline, a lot of skills dealing with customer service. One of the unique things about the program is that we do have a lot of flexibility with the participants, because the main emphasis is on providing a training opportunity for youth that normally wouldn't get that chance out in the community.
Marco's coworkers not only taught him the ropes, they also encouraged him to aim high and complete his wastewater operator certifications.
I had a few guys that really helped me out throughout my internship. Those two people that really encouraged me to stay in the industry, and if I enjoy it, to work hard, and working hard does eventually lead you to where you want to go and where you want to be.
Because he's so focused, he's becoming valuable very quickly. People learn at different rates, and Marco seems to be learning the plant really rapidly. And it's a big, complicated facility, and he seems to be grasping all the different processes and the interrelations between the processes very quickly.
There's never a shortage of things to do at El Estero, which treats 10 to 15 million gallons of wastewater daily.
You could be in an office at one minute, and you could be out in the field driving a big truck in the other. It's a very diverse environment. You can't get bored around this place.
At the end of the day, Marco enjoys his career and his coworkers and the fact that he is making a difference in his community.
We don't really think about it on a daily basis, but all our waste needs to be treated and handled accordingly to protect the environment, the oceans, which are really important to us here in California. And it's very important for all of us, but we don't realize it until we actually visualize the process and understand that it requires a lot of attention daily.
Yep, I'll meet you over there.
Just as Marco was helped by his fellow workers, he now uses his experience to assist newer employees.
I think across the board, everybody likes Marco and likes working with him. He's a go-to guy. You can ask him, and always ask Marco for help, and he'll be there to help out.
Marco is living proof that hard work pays off. To learn more about the city's apprenticeship program, please call 897-2582. In November of 2000, Santa Barbara voters approved Measure B to improve creek and ocean water quality. In our next segment, Kayla Weber shows us the testing processes funded by that measure and how important they are to achieving that goal.
Santa Barbara's Creeks Division is a driving force behind maintaining the health of some of our most precious natural resources. Their mission is to improve creek and ocean water quality, as well as restore creeks to a more natural state.
The Creeks Division staff comes to work every day to try to improve creek and ocean water quality in the city of Santa Barbara. And water quality monitoring is a very important tool for us to determine how successful we are with our projects and our programs.
For 10 years, the Creeks Division has been monitoring the physical, biological, and chemical composition of the water to identify sources of pollution and eliminate them.
We use our water quality monitoring to identify the location that the pollution is coming from so that we can go and eliminate those sources of pollution.
It's important to address pollutants before they reach where all urban runoff and creek water ends up, the ocean.
It's really important to remember that anything you put down that drain, or even in the gutter near that drain, whether that's just soap suds from your car washing, that's going into a pipe that's going straight to the creek. The aquatic organisms, the fish and the invertebrates and the insects have to swim and breathe and live in whatever you're putting into that storm drain. And then that water is going to get to the ocean where Santa Barbara residents and visitors are going to swim. So we don't want to put anything in there that you wouldn't want to put in your aquarium or in your own swimming pool.
Each week, local creek water samples are taken here to the Water Resources Laboratory, where they will be tested for bacteria such as coliform and E. coli. Water samples are mixed with a reagent which encourages any present indicator bacteria to grow. 24 hours later, if indicator bacteria are present, it will show up under UV light. Lab analysts record the data and send it to the Creeks Division where they determine if action needs to be taken.
When we find a place where we've got some pollution source, but we can't pinpoint the exact source of the location, we will construct a capital project to capture and treat that polluted water before it gets into the creeks and ocean.
The Creeks Division administers a wide variety of water quality improvement projects to address areas of concern. Sometimes simply installing debris screens on storm drains will get the job done. Other times, complete creek restoration is the best option.
The Mesa Creek Daylighting Project is part of the Arroyo Burro Estuary Restoration Project. So the Mesa Creek Daylighting took a section of what had been a creek many years in the past. It had been then buried, that creek had been buried and a storm drain had put in to convey the water, and that led to Arroyo Burro Estuary. The Daylighting Project took that storm drain back out and tried to restore the creek to its previous natural state as much as possible.
Though many factors contribute to water pollution, one issue is always at the top of the list.
One of the major sources of water pollution in the city, like most urban areas, is non-point source pollution or just urban runoff. And one of the places we have polluted water running off all the time is parking lots and streets. And the Creeks Division has initiated several projects where we are going into some city parking lots and putting permeable pavers in to allow that polluted water to pass through the parking lot surface into the soil where those pollutants will be treated naturally in the soil.
The impact of urban runoff is especially critical during the first major storm of the season.
The highest pollutant concentrations are generally found during the first flush. This includes the first part of any storm, but even more so the first storm of the year and the first part of that first storm of the year. This is when the rain can wash off all of the pollutants that have accumulated on our surfaces. This includes oil and grease that have been deposited on roadways. This includes some pesticides that might be sprayed in gardens. And generally, the first rainstorm is not huge. So we get all of this material washed off, all of the pollutants washed off by a moderate amount of water. And so then you can see the concentrations of pollutants in the creek that are at their highest.
The Creeks Division has a number of projects they will be focusing on this year, including the Mission Lagoon Restoration Project.
This involves more than just water quality. For this one, we're also collecting information about what organisms are present in the lagoon, and we're hoping to see a restoration to aquatic organisms that are more indicative of improved water quality and improved habitat.
Through testing processes and improvement projects, Santa Barbara's Creeks Division has succeeded in improving the water quality of our creeks and ocean. Their efforts will continue to be essential to our local water's health going forward.
To report water pollution in our creeks, call the city's Enforcement Water Pollution Hotline at 897-2688. Or if you want more information about Creeks programs, visit sbcreeks.com. From leaky roofs to complete flooding, rain can cause many problems for residents and their homes. In a particular area of Sycamore Canyon, the problem has historically been landslides. In our next story, Jessica Oliveira shows us an innovative technique the city is using to help stabilize a road there.
Since the late 1960s, the earth under the Conejo Road area has been on the move, especially in the winters corresponding with heavy rainfall. The results have not been good.
In March of 2011, there was significant landslide movement in this area that damaged Conejo Road. There was about 53 inches of movement in only 10 days, which caused us to have to close the road to through traffic. and created a gap in the pavement.
City crews were able to temporarily repair the roadway, but because of years of ongoing landslide movement, the slope of Conejo Road exceeded the maximum allowed for emergency vehicle access. In March 2012, the city began to develop design plans for a more substantial repair of Conejo Road. City staff met with residents of the area to discuss the design and coordinate the construction. The roadway was regraded using geofoam, a lightweight foam fill that raised the elevation of Conejo Road to reduce the slope in order to meet fire department requirements.
The big benefit of using geofoam for this project is that it's much lighter than conventional fill, and because we were needing to use so much fill, we were concerned about adding mass to the landslide. So the geofoam allowed us to reduce the amount of weight that was being added to the landslide by about 650 tons, because the foam is about 1% of the weight of conventional fill material.
Similar to a puzzle, the large geofoam blocks had to be cut into perfectly sized pieces in order to fit the contour of the road. The blocks were then draped with a black geotextile fabric. The fabric encapsulates the blocks so that if the blocks shift as a result of landslide movement, the soil above the blocks does not migrate into the joints.
Although the geofoam is much lighter than conventional fill, it's just as strong as the conventional fill, which made it a great option for this project.
The 74-pound geofoam blocks are made from recycled materials and are themselves 100% recyclable.
One of the interesting parts about managing this project through design was getting to learn about the geofoam. It's never been used before in the city, and we weren't familiar with it, but our geotechnical subconsultant recommended it, and we were able to learn more about it and learn how it's been used for many, many years. Through the design process, we learned that geofoam has been used successfully throughout the state of California and throughout the entire country for very large road reconstruction projects, runway projects, and structural projects. So we felt confident that this was a good application for geofoam.
The total cost of design, construction, management, and inspection on this project was a little over $494,000.
For this project, the cost of using geofoam over conventional fill was slightly more. However, because of the benefit of being able to reduce the amount of weight being added to the landslide, that benefit outweighed the small extra cost. Also, less time was needed for construction because the foam blocks don't require compaction and are really easy to place without the use of heavy machinery.
In addition to the road repairs, the sewer service along Conejo Road was also improved.
This project had several benefits to the residents in the area. The sewer improvements that were done diverted the sewage flow of about 35 homes away from the sewer main that passes through the slide mass. That's a big benefit because that means more reliable sewer service, and it's also much less maintenance for city crews.
The 8-week project also addressed drainage issues.
There were also drainage improvements incorporated with this project that help divert runoff into the storm drain system and away from the slide mass.
To illustrate how far Conejo Road moved during the landslide, it used to be on this side of the storm drain, and now it's on this side in the city's right-of-way.
Reconstructing Conejo Road restored adequate slopes, so now there's full emergency access to this area, including all of the fire department's necessary rigs, which is important in this area.
The end result is a more stable road that improves access for residents of the area.
We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
I just had my weekly lecture about spending too much money.
What do you have to say this time?
I couldn't understand most of it. All I could get was pesos don't grow on trees.
There they are, ready to go to dinner. Fred's buying.
I'll be right back. I'm going to get my other wallet. This one has my money in it.
Fred, I have a plan. Do you want to hear it?
Lucy, we're still recuperating from your last plan.
I want to start a recycling program for the apartment building.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Oh, Ricky! Fred will listen to you. Tell him I have a wonderful plan for the building that won't cost him a cent.
Let's see. My scatterbrained wife has another half-witted scheme if you listen to it. you're out of your mind.
Boy, did that suffer in translation. Fred, it will help the environment and lower the apartment's trash bill, which means money in your pocket.
Lucy, this is one scheme that makes sense. Dollars and cents.
Minutes away. Hours of fun. Enjoy a taste of Santa Barbara. Experience the romance. Stearns Wharf. Playing near you.
Welcome back. The Mesa Lane steps have recently received some much-needed TLC. Producer Jeff Goodvin shows us the renovation of the vital coastal access to one of Santa Barbara's most beautiful and pristine beaches.
The 244-step staircase at Mesa Lane are the only access to the beach along a 2.5-mile coastal expanse of the Mesa neighborhood between Arroyo Burro Beach and the Shoreline Park.
Those of you who know the area love this area. There's not another way to access the beach, I think, for at least a half a mile, if not more, in either direction. So it's a key coastal access point to neighbors and residents alike.
Well, Mesa Lane steps are in the Mesa neighborhood, so it's used by hundreds of people a day to get access to the beach. The steps have been here since 1982, so as you can imagine, many generations of Santa Barbaraans have grown up going to the beach on Mesa Lane.
Swift currents, storms, and natural erosion have made the previous steps unsafe for public use. A $200,000 grant from the Coastal Conservancy helped to put the steps on top of a long list of coastal improvements slated by the city and county.
The Mesa Lane Stairway project is an ideal project for the Coastal Conservancy because we are a state agency concerned with coastal access for the public. We like to help out with local projects that facilitate public access, and this is an existing public facility that was in serious need of repair. It's used by more than just the local community. It's used by, people who are visiting Santa Barbara, students from UCSB, etc.
And the State Coastal Conservancy grant was a key aspect in making sure that these steps are put up to a 50-year life.
And the Coastal Commission requires that any structure on the coast, on the beach, last for a minimum of 50 years, be able to survive a 50-year storm event, and then also take into account how sea level rise will change over the 50 years.
A partnership was forged between state, county, and local governmental agencies, and after 2 years of careful planning, the construction phase started in early October. Less than a month later, the $600,000 project was complete.
The State Coastal Conservancy was involved, City Council was involved, the County of Santa Barbara, and the City Parks and Recreation Department. So it was really a great partnership to provide these steps for another 50 years.
Between the design, the permitting process, and the construction phase, we completed the project actually on a pretty fast-track schedule.
We're not having to rebuild an entire facility. We're just helping repair an existing facility. So it's a good use of public bond funds.
The project needed to adhere to requirements set by the Coastal Conservancy and the Planning Committee, as well as meet a number of other goals.
The goals of the project including providing safe beach access, to do it in a way that would minimize the environmental impact of the stairs in the beach environment, and to do the project as quickly as possible.
City Parks and Recreation did a great job and did some additional work at the top, new trash cans, there's a brand new sign up there, and cleaning up the landscape and redoing the path that accesses the steps.
We did an asphalt overlay, so we made it smooth. There were a lot of cracks in the asphalt. We installed new header board to support the walkway. And then we painted all the stairs, we replaced a lot of the steps that were worn away, and then we actually removed all of the existing graffiti and old paint that had been there as well.
Whether you use them for exercise, to walk your dog, or take in the spectacular vista, the Mesa Lane steps are an important gateway to a coastal resource that is an integral element of Santa Barbara's splendor.
We have a lot of recreation opportunities here. We have a lot of recreational programs here that serve our community. This is just one facet of a very big picture to give our community opportunities for healthier lifestyles.
Not only is it a great coastal access point, and it's gorgeous once you hit the bottom of the stairs and look out over the beach, it's a great workout.
To learn more about coastal renovation projects, visit santabarbaraca.gov. Have you ever wanted to ask a cop a question but didn't because you didn't want to bother them? Or maybe you've seen something out of the ordinary but didn't know if it was worthy of a call to 911. Well, the Santa Barbara Police Department has recently begun an innovative program that is the perfect opportunity to get answers, and maybe a great cup of coffee at the same time. City TV's Chris Bell has the story.
Thank you.
It's not the most unusual place to see a police officer.
Good morning. Can I get a cup of coffee?
In fact, it's quite ordinary. But these particular cops in these particular coffee-serving establishments are here for more than a good cup of joe. They're here to listen to you.
Wow. Why aren't you drinking a lot of coffee? You've been up since 4.
It's called the Coffee with a Cop program, where city police officers come to local cafes and restaurants and make themselves available to answer questions from the public. Its goal is to improve communication between the police department and the community.
It sort of goes back to the old-fashioned way of doing policing, really, and getting out of the police car and, actually conversing with people and not waiting for them to call us for an emergency or a call for service.
I think it's great, as opposed to maybe a city council meeting or having to go meet with an officer at a police station. I think this is a great way, a good community outreach.
Coffee with the Cop has been tried in just a few other communities, but thanks to the overwhelmingly positive response, there is now a movement to take it nationwide. The force behind Santa Barbara's version is Officer Casey Butel.
Coffee shops have become kind of a venue to relax, hang out. It's very casual, and so it's just a really nice, relaxing venue so that people can come and visit, and we can get to know each other. Some people come and they just want to hang out with us. Other ones have specific concerns.
And so far, the variety of concerns has been as wide as the choices on the menu.
Some we've never heard before, some really huge concerns from certain communities that thought there was nothing they could do about it. We're actually talking about it at these meetings. Some groups come as a group and say, hey, why aren't you doing this? And that's what we want to hear. There's one thing to be the doctor, but if you don't go to the patient and ask them what's hurting, then you're just going to be guessing and hoping that you're doing the right thing. This is part of that process of enhancing the way we do community policing and going to the client and saying, what can we do for you that's better? And we have to, own what we buy when we ask that question.
I told Detective Drayton that I like visibility. I like seeing him. I like seeing him drive around. I like to see him talk to people. I think if I see him, then criminals see him.
Quality of life issues that aren't what people would consider 911 calls. Neighborhood disputes, my neighbor and I aren't getting along, he's cutting my hedge, he's parking in front of my house, and then we can go and we can mediate, we can talk to them and really, help them deal with the quality of life to make it better, and then the citizens feel like they're heard, which is fantastic. When we did this downtown, we had a lot of transient issues from the business owners and businesses talking about that. School neighborhoods talk about people driving too fast during school hours, so then we talk to the traffic department and we are able to deploy motor officers in different areas where people, feel like they need them, so they see them there.
But Coffee with a Cop is about more than customer feedback. It's also an opportunity for residents to get to know the person behind the badge.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of things to talk about. I asked him about his job and what he does all day, and where he lives. He lives around here.
And this, officers say, is where Coffee with a Cop really pays off.
We want everybody to feel comfortable coming to us and talking to us So they do feel comfortable calling 911 they need to, or they do feel comfortable contacting us and saying, some people need that emergency. They need that 911 thing. We want people to know if something just doesn't seem right, just seems off, then call us.
So she says, we never mind being called. Whether we can get to you or not depends on the workload and what else is going on this morning, which I thought was interesting, because there have been a couple times, I really wish I could report that. Well, no, they're going to ask me what the emergency is, and there's no emergency, so that was sort of interesting.
And that comfort level with contacting law enforcement can mean the difference between a theft report and an arrest.
We had recently had a neighbor, a resident call us and say, my neighbor's on vacation, I think, and there's somebody in the backyard I don't recognize. That's a very simple, doesn't seem right. When we got there, the guy that was in the backyard was walking out with the jewelry. So we caught, somebody that had basically burglarized the house because the neighbor saw something and called us because it didn't look right.
And the benefits of the Coffee with a Cop program aren't limited to just the public.
How are you? Good, how are you? A lot of what we deal with is 90% of our time going to 8% of the population. And as an officer, and a lot of people, their only contact is when they're getting pulled over, right, that kind of thing. The officers that deal day in and day out with arresting the criminals and dealing with that get to come and visit and have this kind of positive reinforcement, so it's good for us too. It's good for morale, it's good for the officers, we love when people say thank you for what you do, and especially in light of the tragedies that have just occurred, and when people remember that we're here for them.
In an age when technology has diminished the need for face-to-face contact, Coffee with a Cop harkens back to a time when citizens knew their police officers by their first names, a time of handshakes instead of pokes, and a time when what had to be said took more than 140 characters. What these officers have found is often it takes just enough time to share a cup of coffee.
And you know people by going around and talking to people, and it's not high tech. You just got to do it. So
it's a bit of the old school.
Yeah, I hope the new school doesn't erase the old school.
I never would have walked into the police department and said, I want to talk to you about State Street. So it was convenient. It made it easy to talk to them about an issue that you have if you want to.
For more information about the Coffee with the Cop program, or to find out when the next event is, call 897-2407. Well, that does it for this episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have questions or comments about the show, give us a call at 564-5311. You can also watch the show online at citytv18.com. I'm your host, Becky Davis, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.